Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be sitting down and talking about the end of our semester, our second year fall semester. How are you feeling? Like, initial thoughts before we really get into it all.
Like, about finishing or
Like
about
what,
how it went?
Yeah, what are your immediate thoughts? What are the first three things that come to mind? How the beginning of the semester went, how it was during the semester, and how you feel now that it's over.
Okay, so in the beginning of the semester, I was very overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know what to expect because I never went on campus before.
Yeah.
And then middle of semester, I wasn't as overwhelmed. And then I got a job, and then I got very overwhelmed. End of semester, honestly, I will say I was more relaxed. Maybe because, I knew psychologically that it was ending soon, and I just had to get through, these next few weeks. But I also felt like I wasn't trying that hard because I was just so, tired.
Okay.
And so even though, I wanted to try harder, I couldn't because I was just, so exhausted. So those are the beginning, middle, and end. Overwhelmed the entire time. But it got better a little bit.
Okay. All right. So for me, beginning of the semester, UTSA was completely online still for the first 3 weeks. And it wasn't overwhelming. I think it's that first week you're figuring out the flow of how all your professors give homework, how they grade. But it was a little different because of it all being online. It was the same from the entire last year. But the entire time, and I only had 2 in-person classes. I had 2 completely online classes and then 2 in-person classes. So the ones that were completely online weren't very different from how the entire last year was. But the 2 in-person ones that were, for the time being, for that first 3-week period that were online, it was constantly preparing and them saying hey, remember, we're coming in person on these days, right? And I remember for the first 2 weeks of in-person class, I did show up. And, the math class, that one was helpful, but I didn't really see the need for it. I just, in hindsight, I probably should have gone because I would have had more drive to get the homework done. Because the actual work wasn't hard. It was just I procrastinated a lot, and I got really lazy about the math homeworks because they were so long. But my economics class, I didn't go to anymore because, he didn't teach and I'd see the worth in it. Why am I going to show up, for 2 hours out of my day to not learn anything, just for him to go on tangents and talk about random shit that doesn't pertain to the topic of the class. So I stopped going to his class. So I think the actual classes themselves, it wasn't too much of a worry for me. But it was my accounting class that gave me a problem. So I think that was probably the most stressful thing in the middle of the semester was taking L after L in my accounting class. And then right now here at the end, it was just, kind of catching back up for what I didn't do in the middle of the semester. So the beginning was pretty tame. Middle of the semester was a little hectic. And then the end of the semester was just kind of making up for mistakes that I made during the semester. And I ended it off pretty good, pretty okay, I think, for how much effort I was putting in. And I'm glad to be done, and I'm ready to kind of reallocate my thoughts on things. That way, when we go into this next semester, just have a fresh start and be more motivated than I was the last semester.
Yeah, well, I will say I think you were more motivated this last semester than the previous 2.
Yeah.
I definitely saw that change. It was crazy. You were still kind of struggling every now and then, but you did pretty good overall, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it helped too because Oh, sorry. We're drinking sparkling water right now, and I'm like burping. Okay, so I think what helped was I didn't go to UTSA like ever. I never went like to study or anything. Now I'm gonna be going there because I work there now, so I'm gonna be going there more often. But I always went with you to your school.
Yeah.
And being in an environment that kind of forced you to do work really helped push me to get things done, you know?
Yeah.
And so like while you were in class, I was getting a lot of stuff done. And sometimes I did get very lazy because it got pretty boring being in the same place all the time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I tried to change it up and like go somewhere different other than like the library or wherever your class was.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I would get lazy, go use the restroom, and then I just come back and like watch YouTube for the rest of the time.
I know there were a few times I came out of my last class that was pretty late in the day, Monday and Wednesday, and he would just be laying down. Because there was kind of like a couch area.
Yeah.
And the first time I was like, is he asleep right now? And he was. The other times he was just on his phone.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. I think, yeah, in a sense, I was more motivated than the last year. But last year's classes were a lot easier than this year's.
Yeah.
Or this semester's, you know. And so even though I was more motivated, I wasn't motivated enough. And I wasn't putting in as much work, I think, to get really good grades, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I definitely did better. I ended off with an A, and I want to say 3 B's.
Oh, that's really good.
I think my math class went up. So, yeah, which is better. 'Cause last year it was both semesters an A, 2 B's, and a C, which surprisingly doesn't drop your GPA by much. Like I still have above a 3.0. I think I have like almost a 3.5 right now, which it could be higher. And I mean, I'm not like upset about it, but it is definitely like I'm not like who I was in high school.
Yeah.
As far as work goes. But I mean, yeah, I mean, let's get into it though. Like details of it all. Like kind of walk us through, babe, like cuz you immediately went in person, right?
Yeah, I didn't have those 3 weeks like other universities.
Mm-hmm.
It was just automatically in person. And I will say that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Because St. Mary's had this policy where if you weren't vaccinated, you had to wear your mask inside and outside. And I was kind of like, how are you going to regulate that?
Yeah, nobody's going to know.
So I don't really know, right? But if you weren't vaccinated, then you had to get tested weekly. I think if you lived there. So either way, I didn't live there. But, I mean, I sent my vaccination card in and stuff. Because then you could, like, get like some money. But I did not get picked.
Oh.
SMH. But, no, yeah. So that was a little weird because everyone was still adjusting. And a lot of the time, my professors would have to, like, remind people. And that was weird, too. Like, hearing them say that. Because we were online the first year.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like, oh, be safe, guys, right?
Yeah.
But now they're kind of, like, getting upset at people, right? And I had never, like, experienced someone, like, tell someone else to, like, pull your mask up. Or, like, you have to leave if you don't wear it.
Yeah.
And so that was some, like, adjustments that I had to get used to.
Well, it became a school policy, right?
No, yeah, it's a school policy. So, like, the professors and the
yeah, like they're
the
supposed
students
to enforce it as employees.
Yeah, and it also became part of our topics for a lot of my classes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that I had to get used to because I was used to not talking about bigger topics like that.
Yeah.
At least, like, current topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of what made, like, the class uncomfortable. Because it was something that was going on right then and there. And I didn't really talk to any of my classmates. Like, no one really talked to each other unless you knew each other. And I feel like that was because of the mask, too. Like, it created a boundary or a barrier that we weren't able to, like, get used to. And the only time I had, like, a class project was in one of my classes for, like, 5 minutes. And it was, like, get in a group. And then we talked, and that was it. We never talked again. So that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I felt like I didn't really make friends. I made one friend.
I mean, yeah, I didn't talk to, like, anybody.
Well, like, my
all.
whole idea was that I was going to go in and, like, meet people.
Oh, yeah?
And then because we were having like these big topics and we weren't really used to it, and it was a lot of our first times like being on campus, it kind of like stopped us from making like any type of relationships, which was weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think you definitely have to be really proactive, especially in college, to do that sort of thing.
And I also didn't like join anything like I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's because I got a job, and that takes up most of my time.
You really do. You really do.
Mm-hmm. And so I got that in the middle of the semester, and that's kind of what made it harder to study and like get things done.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, I was doing okay. I felt like I was studying a lot more, but it was also because I wasn't used to studying that much. Because like you said, our classes last year were a lot easier because they were kind of like the entry-level classes. Now I was going into like the harder classes for my degree.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just crazy to see how much effort I had to put in because I wasn't really used to that in high school. Like I was used to learning, memorizing, taking the test, and I'd do good and I would just move on.
Yeah. And it felt like the teacher really held your hand, in high school.
Well, I don't know if I ever really felt like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I felt like it was that way because it was, a lot of people were really lenient. Like if you proved yourself to be a good student and like being in such a close-knit environment, it was really easy to make those relationships with your teachers. So, it was kind of easy to get away with stuff. Or like be like, hey, you think I could have a little extra time on this? Like, I've been busy or whatever. Like you try to say some shit like that to your professors, or at least the ones that I've had, and it's like, hey, bro, you knew when the deadline was. You should have planned better.
Well, I don't know. I guess because I had never asked for an extension in high school.
Okay.
I don't think I have in college either.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was just like, I had a problem turning one of my papers in. And, oh, no, it wasn't like online. It was that I had to print it out, and my printer sucks. Like, it just wasn't working, and my computer that we have at home wasn't turning on. And so I emailed my professor. I was like, hey, like, I finished my paper, but I'm not able to print it out, and I've never printed anything out at school, so I might be late to class. But I'm sending it here so you know that I finished it before the deadline, right? But she printed it out for me. I was like, oh, I don't know, that was nice, because I didn't feel stressed anymore after that. But, no, I don't know. I didn't feel like my hand was held in high school.
That's crazy. It's exactly how I felt.
No, I don't know. I guess because I never asked for help.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we took on-ramps and AP classes where I was like, how should I do this? And that was only really with our English class because I knew I was going into an English degree and I needed to learn more.
Well, it's not so much because I never asked for help or I never asked for extensions either. But it was like
the material?
Their availability in the material and like the fact that the teachers actually went over it, is very different as opposed to right now in my college experience. I mean, you look at my professor and he just hands out the work and tells you to read the textbook, and then you show up to the lectures and he's talking about how Trump was an amazing president, like not pretending at all to economics, like that's what I'm talking about. We never showed up to class like in high school, and like if it was an actual subject, like there was joking and obviously there was a relationship between teacher and student there, but we never didn't go over stuff, unless like the class was becoming passionate about like a certain subject or whatever, which I don't know, that wasn't like super often, but sometimes it'd be like we were reading, remember sophomore year, in our English class, we were reading was that book, the one with like Darcy?
Oh, Pride and Prejudice?
Yeah, that one. And it's like some certain chapters, we started like making fun of like certain things that were happening in the chapter, and you'd go off on a tangent and then work wouldn't get done, and the teacher was like, yeah, it's all right, we were having a good time, we were talking about the book. It's like stuff like that isn't happening here, and especially it's different too at UTSA because I'm having like lectures and like lecture halls, and you're so spread out and there's so many students, and so depending on the professor, sometimes they'll be like they want to have a conversation, or others are like, if it's not about the topic, we're not talking about it. And that's kind of like how my my math teacher was a little bit. Like he was like math questions only, Like, you know, we got stuff to go over. Let's not waste any time. I don't want to waste y'all's time either.
Okay, well, I guess that's different because at St. Mary's, our classes are smaller. And so if we have time, we just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Or it was like that in the beginning where we only asked questions about the topic and talked only about the topic. But kind of like in the middle of the year or a little bit before that, we kind of just started talking because our professors like trusted us to like get the work done.
Makes
so
sense.
I guess that's different. Like my professors did teach me.
Yeah.
Especially my ethics professor. Like he went over the content a lot, kind of repeated himself a little bit, but I think that helped because I was like hearing it over and over again. But yeah, I don't know. It depends. Depends on the professor. So like some stuff has changed and then others not so much.
Okay.
At least for me and the classes that I had.
Yeah. I guess it's a different experience too because of the private university setting.
I think it's just like the size too.
Yeah. Like y'all have like actual classrooms. Like like high school classrooms, you know?
We have desks or tables.
Yeah. Those lecture halls are pretty uncomfy. Like it's a really tiny desk that you kind of flip over yourself. And then it's just like right there. And when you're done, you flip it back over and like kind of tuck it into the side of where you're sitting at.
No, I've never had one of those. It's always been like a table or a really big desk.
Yeah. Yeah, the lecture halls are all right, but I stopped going. And then I got well, I didn't really. Like one of my professors, you know, never talked about anything, and it was like never important to go. And then he's like, oh, you know what? The homeworks are going to be due at this time. But he didn't send a message out. It was just like if you were at the lecture, you knew.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
And I mean, it's not like that's his job or anything. But he ended up giving in and like gave people credit for the homework that was done after what he said it was due. Because like the due date never changed on the actual homework assignment. It was just like him saying it.
Yeah.
And then he himself closed it, but the due date still said it was like due at a certain time. And so, you know, I was doing it and then I was like, like the points didn't show up on Blackboard. And then I look at the group me and everybody's like, oh yeah, he said it in class. And then like, you know, half of the class goes to class and then the other half doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And you know, so I wasn't upset at it because I was like, well, lesson to be learned. Like he didn't say class was mandatory, but I mean, you know, he has it. So I don't know, I don't really get upset at those sort of things, but I mean, he changed it, so it's cool. I did get upset, or like I emailed my accounting teacher about like something. Like I knew she changed the grades, or not the grades, I knew she changed the due dates, and she said that she didn't. And I was like, well, you're the professor, not anything I can really do about it.
Yeah.
So I just took an L. I got zeros on like 4 assignments there. And I mean, I ended up still pulling through, and I got like a 90 something on my final, or not the final, on the 4th exam. And then that bumped me up to a B minus, and I was like, I'm not going to take the comprehensive final. I'm good. And because it was optional. So I ended up pretty good, like an 81. And I'm like, shit, I'll take it. You know, because that was the one that I was struggling with. My accounting class in the middle of the semester, shit, I got as low as like a 63. And I was like, yeah, I'm taking the fattest L. But because like, oh fuck, at the beginning of the semester, she was like, just to let y'all know, like this is going to be a pretty strenuous class. Like there's going to be a lot of work. You know, the assignments are going to be long. And she's like, I'm here to help you, but just know that like if you're not willing to put in the work, I suggest you drop out of the class now at like the first week.
Yeah.
And or like at like the first 2 weeks you had time to drop out, and like it wouldn't be counted against you, you know. And I was like, man, I got that. Like she's just trying to intimidate us, and I got screwed over. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was definitely like more than any of my other classes have ever been, you know. So I couldn't just like half-ass it and get an A. Like I was half-assing and getting like the lowest grades. And so no, that was like a huge lesson to be learned in my accounting. But because of like me putting more time into accounting, I stopped focusing so much on math because it was like super easy, and I was like, it's easy, it's whatever. But then even though it was easy, I didn't take the time to get like all of the questions done because it was a long homework assignment. And because I didn't do that, and I was like, I don't feel like spending 10 minutes on a problem. I ended up like turning in half done homework, and that really dropped my grade. And so that's definitely kind of like, that's just time management. I started waking up late because I didn't have a lot to do. But it was like, even though I didn't have a lot to do, like the one assignment was long. And so if I would have,
kind of dreading it.
Yeah, if I would have just like spread it out across 2 days, like do half one day, half the next day, like it would have been nothing. And I tried to do that here at the end of the semester, and I did a little bit, but I was still kind of slacking. But honestly, pretty crazy that I got like an 85 on my final. Was not expecting that. But pretty cool that happened. But yeah, I don't know. It was just like the entire semester, I was just dreading all of it. Like everything felt so long and like tedious to me. It was like I didn't have as much to do. Like looking at it on the surface, like I didn't have a lot of assignments, but it was more like each assignment though was way longer. Yeah. So even though last year I had a lot of assignments, they were all really short. I could get them done in like half an hour. These ones, it's like, oh, I only got one assignment for this week, like for each class, right? So it's only 4 assignments. I'm like, man, that's slight. But each assignment is, like multiple part questions that are super long. You got to do readings like prior to the homeworks, and then it's like, oh, now you got a quiz, and it's like, it was a whole thing that, like, it really wasn't one assignment, But I would always look at it at the surface and make excuses for myself, saying, hey, like, it's only one, so I'll just put that off till the end of the day, and I'll get it done. And then I'm like, it's the end of the day, it's due tomorrow, it's whatever. So then I put it off. Next day rolls around. I'm procrastinating, dreading the assignment because I know it's long. And then by the end of the day, I'm scramming to do it, and you're asking when's it due, and I'm like at 11:59, and then I get screwed over. So
well, I would never know.
Yeah, that was basically like the entire middle to almost the end of the semester. But I think I definitely kicked it into high gear there, like the last few weeks.
Oh yeah, definitely. You were like, we're almost done. I'm just gonna finish off strong, and I think you did.
I think I did. Pretty good. Then I got that job at UTSA. For those who don't know, which I don't think a lot of people know.
I don't know if we've mentioned it.
Yeah, I work at the recreation center now at UTSA, which is pretty cool. I'll be your fitness assistant. You'll see me there in an orange shirt, just being a goon, keeping an eye out. But yeah, I think it should be cool. I'm excited for next week, going to Austin.
Oh yeah, I was waiting for that. That is what was getting me through the last few weeks. Because, what is it? Yeah, I ended this past week, right? And I knew the week after we'd be going to Austin because of the date that we had set. So I was like, I just need to finish, and then I'll be done, and everything will be fine. We'll have a great, like, break.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was really hard to kind of focus, especially my last final. The last final I took was my ethics class, and because he explained it so much, I just, like, knew that I was going to be able to write an essay, or technically it's kind of like 2 essays, like they were just 1 pages, but I knew I would be able to write about them because we had talked about them in class. Yeah. So I was like, oh, like it's fine, like I'll just wait. And I could have finished it like a whole week early, but I didn't like feel motivated to do it, and I was kind of dreading it because I didn't want to have to write another essay or 2 essays. Because I had just finished writing a 9-page essay and then a 4-page essay, which didn't take me that long, the 4-page essay. But it was still a lot because I didn't know if I was, like, giving my ideas across well. And I don't know. So I didn't want to write another 2 essays. Yeah. But because of that, I waited until the last minute, and then I turned it in. Well, I mean, I still turned it in a day early. Yeah. But knowing that I could have turned it in, like, a week earlier was kind of like a bummer because I didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good. Honestly, it's pretty crazy like how many essays and the length of essays that you were writing. I can't even imagine writing a freaking 9-page essay.
Honestly, like it didn't feel like that much.
Yeah, I know.
Once I started,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I will say at the beginning of the year when she was like, all right, first major essay is 6 to 8 pages. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
was
in
like, I don't know about
retrospect, it's
that.
not that much, especially because it's double spaced.
Oh,
You
I
know?
love that it's double spaced. Sometimes I would like write 2 pages, like single spaced, and then I would do double, and I was like, look at that. I have 4 pages now.
Yeah.
Just to feel like better.
Oh my goodness.
Because it was a lot. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I felt like I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
repeating myself. And we had to read our introduction out loud for one of my classes.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, what do you think about it? And I was like, I feel like I repeat myself too much. And she was like, really? Because I don't think that at all. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Because I think I repeat myself too much.
You're very critical of yourself. That's what we were talking about.
Well, I feel like I have to be,
Imposter
because if I'm
syndrome.
not critical towards myself, I'm
Yeah.
never going to get better. But I
That's
still
true.
feel like I need to find a medium to where I'm not so critical. I cry
Yes.
every
I
time
know,
that I think it's not good.
You're yeah, like you're too critical on your, like there's a difference between like critiquing your work but having a positive mindset about it. Like there, you know, I can definitely do better, but like this is good. And
Well,
this is
Well, that's what I started doing at the end of the semester.
yeah.
But for one of my classes, my grades went low. So I was like, I
Low,
should have been,
quote unquote.
okay, it was low for me and what I need.
Yeah.
I don't know. I should have like worked harder in that class because
Mm-hmm.
I was really interested in it. But I was interested when he was talking about it. It was my Hebrew and Old Testament class.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, no, all the questions, I was like, geez, this is a lot. Like about like the Bible and shit and like all that stuff, and it was like, man, there's a lot to
well,
memorize.
we were like getting into like who wrote it and what like era they wrote it in and what
Yeah.
kind of theodicy it was. Like, did they believe everything was just? Did they believe in injustice? Or do righteous people prosper? Do the wicked suffer? Is it vice versa?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you see? Not really what we see, but like what we see the author did
Yeah.
and like that type of stuff. And I know those were the questions that I missed on my final because there were so many different ways like the wicked and righteous could go, or the way like the theodicy was explained, and that's basically talking about like God's justice
Mm-hmm.
that the Bible was talking about, or like the
Yeah.
authors.
Mm-hmm.
And I got those confused because there were like 5 to 6 different ways. And the way the question was worded, it was like confusing me because I was like, I know who this is, but because it doesn't say the name and like me matching the name to the definition, I was getting confused. It was backwards.
Okay.
So I was like, I know those are the questions I missed.
I mean, you ended off pretty good.
I did. I have a 90 in
ended
that
off, like,
class
really
right
good.
now,
Yeah.
but he's supposed to drop 2 quiz grades.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go to 92.
Oh.
But I made it to 90. That's all I wanted. Halfway
pretty good.
through, after I started working, I was like, I don't know about 95s for every class because I will be dying. Like, all I would do would be work in school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what helped me with in my math class. I think
Sorry.
no, you're good. I think you would have had or I would have had a C if not for my professor being boys as fuck. He was like, your final will replace your lowest test grade. And I was like, let's go. Because I think my lowest test grade is like a 60 something. Excuse me. So once that drops and then it gets replaced with my 85, you know, I'll be straight. I'll be good. He hasn't done it yet, but, you know, once it happens, I'm sure, you know, my grade is going to go to a B.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of stinky that, like, that happened, but, like, I think, if y'all follow me on Twitter, y'all saw me tweet that. I was like, I'm not the straight A student I used to be. And, like, there's not a true statement. And it's kind of like the mindset about everything changed, too. It's almost like in high school, I was trying so hard to be like a certain rank. Like, remember, because we had like ranks, like, what rank are you?
Oh, yeah. I can't even see that.
You know, and I was like rank 12 or 11 or some shit like that. And I was like, man, I want to break the top 10. So I had like a goal, you know, and I was really striving for it. And I was in clubs, you know, we were in Stuco and NHS. And I was the president of NHS. And I had so much drive and ambition.
Well, I think it's because people were looking up to you. You felt like you had to meet a certain standard.
I guess you're right. I had eyes on me. So it was like, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize it until COVID happened. And then we weren't in high school and didn't have, you know, the status that we did.
Mm-hmm.
when I realized, I just don't have a lot of self-motivation, like at all.
Yeah.
And, it was really hard to get out of bed most days and like do stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, I was dreading a lot of things. And like,
No,
I know
I
that
get
sounds
that.
like really depressing, but it was kind of like, I was dreading doing things that took a lot of work, a lot of brain, like, power,
It's just exhausting, especially like working on one subject for so long.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel.
Yeah. I definitely felt like I was starting over almost. And
Well,
like,
I mean, we were, because like you said, in high school, we kind of had like, people knew we were in clubs, so they had this expectation.
yeah.
And you had to kind of fit that expectation, especially with teachers. At least that's how I felt. Especially whenever we started wearing the NHS tie, it was kind of like, oh, you're an NHS. And
Yeah.
I remember one of my professors was like, your grade's not doing too good. And I was like, bro, it's because you're not teaching me. And then so I switched classes and my grade was doing great. So I was like, I don't know if I was the problem there. But I felt like I had to meet their expectation, at least that teacher, because they knew I was in NHS and they talked to me because of that.
Yeah, that was definitely I guess a weight behind it. Like that was like the one thing my advisor said that I like agreed with the most was like there's a expectation like when you put on the tie. And so, I was trying to live by that. I was trying to be like, a role model, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you did a good job.
Yeah, I think I did all right. Now, nah, I'm not trying to be a role model to nobody.
You said, nobody knows me. I don't know them.
I'm just like coasting. Like I'm a recruit. You know what I mean?
You're trying to get recruited.
Yeah, like I'm like the bottom of the barrel. I don't know about the bottom of the barrel, but like I don't have, like nobody knows me for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, and I don't know a lot of people either. I mean, I think a lot of people's faces light up. Like the thing now that I mentioned, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, a podcast. And they're like, what? And like, people check us out and like, that's cool that we have this going. And I guess this almost gives us something to do aside from school, because school can get really mundane. And like for me, like how good of a student I am and stuff like that doesn't really, like I don't look at that as the definition of who I am or like how my character should be judged. Like I absolutely don't see school as in any way. Like that's not how I identify. Like, yeah, I'm going to school, but like I don't, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, man, UTSA proud, especially because of all like how good they did in football and like being the UCA or whatever the fuck it was champions. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool that you have a lot of school pride and like you really identify with that and feel like very proud of that. But I don't know. I just haven't found that. Like, yeah, like it's cool. And I feel cool that, I'm going to a school whose football program is doing good.
Yeah.
But, I personally just I don't enjoy watching football.
Yeah.
Or basketball or any sport for that matter. Like I will, and I'll get excited and stuff like that. But it's more like being there in the moment that's like exciting, but I don't really enjoy football itself. Or even like being around all those people like screaming and stuff and being loud. Like, yeah, it's fun and I get in the moment, but it's not something that I enjoy. It's kind of like my brother. We were talking and he was like, I get up and I talk in front of people and I be a leader when I have to. He's like, but if I had it my way, just be in my room, like I'm an introvert at heart. Me and Diego, I like to think that we're both introverts at heart. And even though we have a lot of extrovert tendencies, or we speak out and say things that people might associate with extroverts, it's like we're kind of just filling that role. And like now in college, I've really just been being who I think I am naturally, which is like I'm extroverted with my friends, but man, just around anybody else, I'm like introvert to the max. I don't talk to nobody. I would show up where I needed to be, get what I needed to get done, and leave.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been like the wave this entire year and this past year and a half. And I want to change that. I'm a little bit kind of not get back to how I was in high school, but just kind of change things up, because I think it's been really slow. Like life, it feels like I'm just kind of coasting, getting things done, but I don't feel like I'm really moving forward. You know, I'm like moving in place. And so like right now with this new job, you know, working at UTSA, I hope to meet people. Like I've already met somebody with my same major. He's one of my supervisors. And he seems pretty chill. Like a few of my supervisors seem really chill. And you know, I'm hoping to meet my coworkers and really just get to know them. I mean, the ones like when we went to the new hire training, I mean, they all seem pretty cool. And you know, I want to get to know them and, you know, talk and just make new friends at school, right?
Yeah.
But I just haven't felt like I had that opportunity in my classes. So I'm hoping like here, you know, working at the job and like talking about things that we have in common, you know, we'll find that friendship. You know, even if it's not like a, hey, you want to go hang out sort of friendship, but like I look forward to going to work sort of friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how it was at the wash tub or at HEB. I never really hung out with any of them outside of school. I think at the wash tub I hung out with a few outside of school, but you know, or outside of work, sorry. But at HEB I never did that, but I looked forward to going to work because I enjoyed hanging out with the people there. And so, you know, I kind of hope that happens here. And then because we'll be going to the same school, it might be a thing of like, hey, you at school right now? Like,
Yeah.
you want to go to the library and just do work and fuck around and be like, yeah, bro, let's go. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm hoping to be at. And I don't know, join a club eventually, pursue a leadership role because I do enjoy being in leadership roles. I think gives me a sense of ambition, a sense of drive that otherwise wouldn't be there, right? Because people are counting on me. But I don't want to be as deep into it. Like, I don't know if I want to be the president of anything again.
Yeah.
Like, if it happens, it happens. But, like, I'm not going to be actively seeking it out. I just kind of want to be in a position where I can lead, but also learn and be under somebody, you know? So, like, that's kind of how I want to be, like, at work. Like, my work ambition is, like, I don't want to be the CEO of anything, really. You know, like, I mean, I was talking about how I wanted to open my own gym eventually. And at that point, like, technically I'd be like the top boss, right? But it's, I don't know. There's a lot going on. I feel like there's a lot going on in my head and I can't quite articulate it to, you know, y'all, the audience, or like even to you. Like sometimes I'm just like, there's a lot going on in my head, you know, and it's hard to put it into words exactly what it is that I'm thinking. Like sometimes you ask like, you know, what are you thinking about? And truth be told, I'm thinking about a lot, but I can't put it into words. And I'm like, oh, I was, you know, thinking about this and that.
Well, I think it's so funny because I'll ask and you'll be like, oh, I was just thinking about this. And then you're like, well, and then, you know, that also brings about, and that I feel like that's your thought process. Like you go from one thing to the next to the other one super fast. So when I ask, like, what are you thinking about? It's like, well, I already thought about like 100 things. But now that you ask, the current thing is this. And then you start talking about like 5 other things.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time it just goes back to you. Like you're like the central thing, like the thing that I can pinpoint like definitively. Like you're one of the things that I'm definitely thinking about. And then you're like, what specifically? And I'm like, girl, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Well, I don't know. Like,
it's like a whole, I think of you broadly. I don't focus. I think of a lot of things broadly. I never focus on like pinpoint things, you know. It's if I have to, once I really think about it, I can get to that. Like if there's a specific focus, if there's a specific focus on a topic that I'm thinking about, like to get to that, I have to really think about it. But everything that I'm thinking about is not specific. It's all very broad, you know. So like when you're like, you know, what are you thinking about? Like, I'm like, you, and you're like, what about me? It's like all of you, like everything at once. It's like, you know, your body, your personality, you know, something that we've done, something that I want to do with you. It's like all happening at once. And I don't know, I just feel like my brain is constantly going. Like that's when the only time that it's not moving very fast is when I wake up. You know, because it's moving fast all day. And then I feel like that's when I get really tired, like I just need to fall asleep, you know, and I need to stay asleep. So I'm getting really tired. And a lot of times, like when we call, because I stay up to talk to you. And then when we call, I'm tired on the phone And I'm like, man, I'm about to pass out. And I'm like, all right, good night, mamas. And you're like, good night. And then we hang up. And I'm like, let's go. And then just goes off. And I'm like, fuck. And I can't go to sleep. And or sometimes I'll go to sleep like these past few days. For some reason, I've been waking up at like 2:30 in the morning. And I can't go back to sleep. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's so annoying. And then I stay up till like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. Sun's already kind of creeping out a little bit, and then finally I fall asleep. But then I start to enter into a deep sleep, even though I'm supposed to wake up like 2 to 3 hours later. And I mean, forget it. Like, I sleep in till like 11, 12, 1 or 2, like in that time range, 11 to 2, right? And by that point I've already wasted the morning when I was supposed to wake up at like 9.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just been hard. Like, I need to invest in melatonin. I've been feeding off of yours for like 1 night or 2 nights.
Well, I tell you I can give you more.
Yeah,
and
but
you're like, no, I just need the
I don't want to take all of them. And I feel like I just need a few.
Well, I feel like, I don't know, you feel like you have to take all of them that week. But I'm like, just save some for later. Because sometimes you'll leave and you're like, oh, damn it, I didn't get the melatonin.
Yeah.
But if I give you a bunch, then you just have some in your room.
Yeah. I don't know. I just need to buy a tub. Like, I'll buy it. Oh, I could have asked my mom. I wonder if she's still at HEB right now. Hold up. I'm going to text her right now. Are you still at HEB? We'll see if she texts back. All right. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. That's like one of the things, too. During the semester, I had such a hard time, like, having consistent sleep. Because I was staying up late doing assignments. And then I couldn't go to sleep, and I don't know. It was just hard. Oh, wait, hold on. She just texted back. She said in line. And I was like, dang it. I was gonna ask if you could get me melatonin. If not, it's okay. It's no bigay. All right. No, yeah. I don't know. Sleep is like the bane of my existence right now. Like, I enjoy it, and when it happens, it's amazing.
You sleep so much. It's actually crazy. Like, I sleep 8 to 10 hours, and then I can never go back to sleep. Like, throughout the entire day.
Yeah. I know. I could sleep for 12 hours, and I'm like, fuck, I could go for a nap.
I know, like, 2 hours later, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm wide awake. I can't go to sleep. I can only go to sleep if I'm, like, sick or, like, I have a headache. Then I will take a nap and be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can never take a nap. Even if I take melatonin, I'm just, like, awake.
That's crazy. I mean, we watched that video recently about, like, the different sleep cycles and stuff. And, like, if you're going to take a nap, it's optimal to do, like, a 30 to 60-minute nap. And it's like, my naps be, like, 3 hours.
I know. They were like, the regular nap is between 5 to 3 hours. And your naps are 8 hours long.
Nuh-uh. Sometimes I do be sleeping a lot, but it's not that much. Like, I mean, yesterday I slept during your whole shift.
That was like 5 hours.
Yeah, like I got home and I was gonna do like not a lot.
No, you didn't just wake up that day. That was today.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, yeah. Yesterday I was gonna do some stuff when I got home after you went to work, and then I fell asleep, and I woke up like 30 minutes before you got out. And I was like, damn. And I was still tired, and I was like, man, I want to go back to sleep, but I was like, oh, she's almost out. And so I just stayed awake and waited in my bed. And then we called. I couldn't go back to sleep. No, yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm so tired, and then when I'm finally like, all right, let's actually go to bed. It's like when, like, I go to bed when I'm not supposed to, but then when I'm supposed to, I don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's happening. It's pretty annoying, but yeah, I don't know. Kind of went off there. Back to like the actual topic of today's episode. Overall, I think this semester was a learning experience. It was not very eventful, honestly pretty boring for me. And I'm ready to do better. Like, now that I have like a lot of drive and ambition a little bit right now, I wouldn't say a lot of, now that I have a little bit of that spark coming back, I want to nurture it, build it up. That way come this spring semester, we just start off strong, keep it going, and like finish strong. Because I started off strong this last semester, fell off completely in the middle, and I finished it strong. And like, yeah, okay, like I passed, but it wasn't like, if anything, it should be like, start off all right, get hellish. Like, it should just be a crescendo throughout the whole semester, But that's not at all what it was. It was like you just started like at the top, just peak, and then fell off, and then kind of got a little bit to where I was at the beginning of the semester, And I just can't let that happen. I think during this winter break, it's going to be a lot of just getting the sleep schedule on track, going to the gym more consistently. I mean, we've been working out every day, and we've almost been going to the gym every day, but there's been days where it's just like it couldn't happen. Like now it's probably going to be able to happen more often because, you're not in school, and so now you only have work taking up the majority of your time.
Yeah, and I go in usually around like 12:30.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think because we're trying to wake up at like 9.
Yeah.
If we can stay on top of that and go to the gym an hour after we wake up, I'm confident that we can get it done. It's just sometimes it's a struggle, getting it, especially getting sleep back on track. It can be real hard to do that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, overall, how would you say the semester went? Like, what's your big takeaway from it? And what are you looking forward to the next semester? What kind of hoping for the next semester?
Well, next semester, I hope I get 95s and above.
Okay.
That's the first start, or the first step. This year ended with all A's. At least that's what it's looking like right now. I just checked my grade. Because my professors haven't put in all of our finals or all of our grades yet.
Yeah.
But everything's a 90 and above, so that's good, right? But I don't know. My biggest takeaway was that I need to be less critical of myself. I don't know. That's my hardest thing. I don't know if I'll be able to do that this next semester. I mean, maybe I'll be able to be less critical in a sense of where I don't like focus just on one thing and then like stress about it for like a whole hour and then move on. Maybe I just need to like stress about it for like a minute and then do another assignment.
Yeah.
Because if I keep trying to do the same assignment while I'm stressing out, then I get even harder on myself, and then I have a whole other essay. I mean, it works out in the end, but
yeah, it's not crazy.
It's not good for my mental health, so it's the biggest thing.
I think we're like opposites. I need to be a little more critical of myself because I was very nonchalant this entire last semester.
We are opposite in the sense of like, I mean, I don't view all of my value in school, but I know that there is some of my value in it. Mainly because I need to get into graduate school. So, yeah.
Is it graduate or law? Or is it like the same thing? I thought it was like a JD program.
It's a doctor program.
It's a doctorate program?
Yeah, but it's law school. But yeah. Nice. I don't know how you would explain it. Yeah, it's weird because I'm going into law school and some people are like, oh, you need this many amount of years and credits to get a doctorate degree. But the JD counts for a doctorate degree.
Okay.
So it is graduate school.
Yeah.
It's also law school. I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things where I'm like, wait, does that make sense? Because I told my dad, I was like, oh, like it would be a doctorate degree.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. And my mom was like, no, it counts as a doctorate degree. So I'm like, which one is it? Because I looked it up and that's what it does count for. But maybe it depends on the school. I don't know. The state, I'm not too sure. I don't really care. I just need a law degree. But yeah, I don't know. So my value is somewhat in that.
Yeah.
Because if I feel like I'm doing good in school, then I feel like my life's together. Maybe that's just how I was raised.
Yeah.
Because my parents always pushed for A's.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of just like in me subconsciously. Even if I think it's my own choice, it's not. I don't know, I was learning about that. To where it's like you think it's your conscious decision, but really it's like all of the people before you who have had some sort of impact that's kind of like speaking to you subconsciously, and you think it's your choice, but it's really not.
That's crazy. I didn't think about that. I mean, maybe that could be like kind of where all this rebellion came from, or like this nonchalantness was like me going against everything that stressed me out, which was people constantly pushing me to do better and better, even though I was like, you know, why can't y'all appreciate where I'm at now that I worked so hard to get to?
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, by the time college happened, I was like, fuck it. And now I'm very nonchalant about everything. I got an attitude of like, as long as I pass, I don't care.
Yeah, and I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And maybe I would be like that if I wasn't trying to get into law school.
I think we need a healthy mix. I'm like, we're both on the extremes, and we need to both get to the middle. Like, you need to be okay with some things, you know, not being perfect.
Well, I don't know, because I got there a little bit on this last essay. I could have edited a lot more, but I didn't because everyone told me that it was good. So I was just like, citations and send.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like the whole imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a horrible student.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you're like actually one of the best students that I know.
Well, I don't know, because it's like my grades do good, right? But I felt like in high school I was coasting. Like I never really tried. And now that I'm trying, my grades are good, but I feel like they should be a lot better for how much I'm trying.
You gotta realize
so then
too,
I feel like maybe I'm not trying hard enough, and then I'm not good enough. And then that's where I'm like, never mind. Like, like I need to try harder. And that's why I'm so critical, because I'm like, I'm studying this much, but my grades are only 90s. Or like on my quizzes, because we had a quiz every time we met, and I would try so hard. And it's like the end of the year, no matter how hard I tried, I would get 3s out of 5s. And I was like, why is that happening? Like, I'm studying more than I was studying in the beginning, but my grades are worse. And I mean, I got them to 4s and like 2 5s at the end. But it should have been a lot better for how much I was studying. Like, there was a lot of content, and yeah, I wasn't getting enough sleep, so maybe that's what played into it. Because my classes were also very early. I don't know. I felt like I should have done a lot better in that class, because I really enjoyed learning about it, but there was so much content, and I don't know. Needless to say, I need more time to read things, because I think that's what was happening. There were a lot of chapters, or not even that there were a lot, but the chapters were long. And because they were so long, I was dreading it, and I would kind of just skim through it. And then I would do Quizlets for myself. I don't know. It could have been better, but I finished the class, and I threw all my note cards away today, so yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors into it. Like, sleep for sure is a thing. You know, self-motivation, determination, setting short-term goals that are not easily achievable, but, you know, realistically achievable. Like, that really helps, you know, because you meet those short-term goals and it just keeps on driving you to set new ones and meet them, you know.
Yeah, I will say I have a lot of self-motivation.
I think you do as well.
But then I also feel like, well, maybe it's just like the people who have influenced me, like subconsciously, that's what's keeping me going.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it's more so failure that's driving me. Like, in my head, I cannot fail. No matter crazy. Like how hard I try to be like, you know what, it's just one grade, like that's fine. Like the next few minutes I'll be like, nope, never mind, I'm editing the whole thing, like I can't fail. And I don't know, it's really weird. Like, I've tried to just like let it go.
Yeah.
But from 1 minute to the next, I'm like, never mind. Like, I cannot let this happen.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's definitely a lot of value in losing, you know, or failing, if you will.
Well, I mean, like, in some senses, I do fail. Like, my quizzes.
Yeah.
Like, they would be 80s and 70s, right?
Yeah. But
and that's failure to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I was studying so hard for my final. So, I mean, I learned that I had to go over a lot of things more.
Yeah.
But I can never, quote unquote truly fail.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm talking like failure. Like they're like zero, even though
No.
you tried your hardest, or like losing constantly and never catching a win.
Man, I'd break down.
Like, I've gone through that, right?
Yeah. I feel like you handle it so well.
Well, that's because I handled it often. And because I handled it often and I never, there was a period of time where, like, I've always been a good student, but, there's been times where motivation wasn't there. And it was, even though I felt like I was trying, I really wasn't subconsciously. And so you just constantly, I would fail assignments, right? And because I would fail assignments, I was scared of confronting my parents, especially my dad, about it. And then, just in life, I wasn't extremely competitive. And because I didn't have that competitive attitude, I'd lose a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And at the beginning, it was definitely hard blows, because at the beginning I was very ambitious and I had my dad and my mom telling me, straight A's, stuff like that. Very proud of me, and like you could see that change too from like, I got the straight A ribbon. Oh my gosh, we're so proud of you, mijo. I got the A and B. Oh, it was different attitudes for different things. They were only giving the maximum amount of praise for the top thing, and subconsciously that makes you like, I have to get the top thing.
Well, I will say my parents kind of did the same thing, but they're a lot more understanding, I think. Yeah. Like, they still had a lot of praise, because especially my dad, I mean, he got all C's, so I'm doing great, right? Yeah. But he would be like, it's okay, like, it's just 1B, like, just work harder next time. And my mom too, she would more so be like, oh, right? But she'd be like, it's okay. Like, you're doing good, right? You're trying. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying. Yeah. And I don't know. So that I feel better about, because even though I know if I get like a B or something, like, they're just going to be like, try harder. Yeah. And like, you're fine. Like, it's just 1 grade. But it's more so like me. Like, I want to be proud of myself.
I guess you're right. Well, it's also just learning to be like, and that's like what I was getting to, like, with the entire background. Eventually, like, the first blows of like just taking an L, the shit sucks. It really gets to you. I think I cried the first time I got like a 70 something. I cried because I was like, damn, my first C, But once they stacked up and like it felt like life was just really against you, you kind of, it's almost like you become numb to it, but you become okay with it because you realize that like that's just something that's happening. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not so much that I need to try harder. It's just there's a lot of things going on in my life right now that are causing me to have this. And it's not like I'm putting blame on other things. Like, it is yourself. You are responsible for your actions and things that happen in your life, but it's how you approach it. And like realizing that there's a lot of things that go into an outcome. And I became okay with the negatives and really appreciated the positives when they would come my way, And so then like senior year of high school, like it was kind of just like positive after positive. Like life was really going good. I was catching a lot of wins and it was like, it felt good, but I was really appreciative of it. Because in prior years, that was not the case, you know? And so, now in college, we're kind of back to, square one of really struggling and like not doing as good. Yeah. But because I've been there and I understand that it's like, this isn't who I am. It's just, there's a lot of external factors, a lot of things going on internally. Where I'm just not being the best version of myself, but that's okay because I know I'm going to get to that point. It's just all about setting up short-term goals so that way you can get to that, that way you can meet that criteria of like, this is who I see myself as, like, the hardest working version of myself or whatever. Yeah. Like someone that I can be proud of. Like, I'm proud of myself right now and like how I finished out the semester. But I do realize that I could be better. But it's just all about setting up those building blocks now during the break. So that way, come the spring semester, it's like, I'll hopefully set myself up for even further success. And yeah, I don't know. Just really appreciate, like, it's really easy to appreciate, you know, how good you did on something when you realize that it's not your worst, or that it's not what could be your worst, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I feel like we both got our own struggles going on.
Yeah. I mean, I know I could do worse if I didn't try.
Yeah.
Like, if I just showed up to class and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know I can do better. And the better part is where I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so focused on that I forget, like, it could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, next semester, I hope to mentally be stronger and focus on that more. But I also want my grades to be good. So, we're in that medium again, and we'll see which one takes a hold. But, I don't know. It'll be fine overall. I'm feeling okay about this semester.
I'm glad. Yeah, this coming semester, my goal is 2 A's, 2 B's. And then to get more involved. And then, you know, through that will come self-motivation and increased productivity.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, that's the hope. I think we're going to do fine. We're going to do good. I think every semester we've gotten better and better. Even though at times it feels like it's gotten worse, it's, you know, there's a lot of things happening. Like you with your job, you know? Even though it feels like maybe it got more stressful, it was like, well, you just had a little more time constraint. But you handled it, took care of your shit, and look where you're at now. Making the big bucks, ended off with all A's. Going crazy right now.
Uh-huh.
So.
I made it to my 90 days.
I know.
It's today that we're recording.
But, and we're at an hour now. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I think it's a pretty solid time to end out the episode. What do you think?
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. As always, be sure to check out our socials at livewithjm pod. We got an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. In there, you can find the link to our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that other biz. And, yeah. Anything else we need to mention?
No.
All right, awesome. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye.
Bye.